Welcome back to the Glass Alibi.
It is good to be here. And that title for this specific deep dive, it feels heavy. It feels appropriate, but really heavy.
It really does. Usually when we sit down to unpack a case, especially a case involving a disappearance or, potential homicide, we spend a lot of time deconstructing the mystery.
Right. Looking for the needle in the haystack.
We look for that one loose thread that the perpetrator forgot to snip. But today, we are doing something completely different. We are looking at a story where the alibi wasn't a wall. It wasn't steel-reinforced concrete.
No, it was glass.
Exactly. It was transparent from the very moment the suspect opened his mouth. It was an alibi so fragile, so obviously manufactured, that it didn't just crack under pressure, it shattered.
It really did.
And yet, and this is the part that is going to frustrate me and probably you and definitely our listeners, the system couldn't move fast enough to pick up the shards before a second tragedy occurred.
That is the core tension of this entire case. It's the difference between knowing something and proving it. The difference between a detective looking a man in the eye and just knowing he is lying, and a prosecutor having enough to hold him without bail. Today, we are analyzing the disappearance of Susan Powell.
If you follow true crime at all, you know the name.
Yeah.
You've definitely seen the photos, that bright smile, the two beautiful little boys. But our mission today isn't just to recite the timeline. We aren't just going to say, Susan went missing, then this happened. We are going to surgically disassemble the defense of her husband, Josh Powell. We're going to look at the specific fragility of his story.
We want to understand the mechanics of a lie that was, it was an insult to intelligence from minute one.
It really was. So where are we getting our information for this?
We have a massive stack of sources for this. We're pulling from the extensive transcripts of the Cold podcast by Dave Cawley, which is, it's the gold standard for this case.
Absolutely.
We have the redacted police affidavits from West Valley City. We've got interrogation logs. We even have the heartbreaking journals of Susan Powell herself.
So let's set the board. We are in West Valley City, Utah. It is December 2009. And the weather. The weather is a character in this story, isn't it?
Absolutely. It is crucial context. We are talking about a severe winter in the high desert. It is freezing cold, snow on the ground, the kind of cold that just, it hurts your face.
And in the middle of this freeze, we have a young family living in a suburban home. Susan Powell, she's 28 years old. She's a stockbroker at Wells Fargo. Very bright, very organized.
And then there's Josh, her husband, and their two boys, Charlie, who was 4, and Braden, who was only 2.
Now, before we get to the day everyone vanishes, we really need to understand the baseline. Because a glass alibi doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It comes from a cracked foundation.
That's a great way to put it.
What do we know about the temperature inside the house, not just outside?
It was arguably colder inside. The marriage was failing. The sources are crystal clear on this. Susan was a devout member of the LDS Church. She found community and solace there.
And
Josh. Josh was drifting. He was controlling. He was isolating her. He controlled the finances to an obsessive degree.
There's that word, control. We see it in so many of these cases. But let's zoom in on Sunday, December 6th, 2009. This is the last day of normal. Walk us through the timeline.
It starts with a divide. Sunday morning, Susan gets the boys dressed, winter coats, Sunday best, and takes them to church at the 136th Ward.
And Josh refuses to go.
He stays home. Now, in that community, a father staying home while his wife and kids go to church, that's a statement. It's a public withdrawal from the family unit.
So Susan is doing the heavy lifting of parenting solo at church. She comes home, and that afternoon, a neighbor comes over, Giovanna Owings. And this interaction is so important because it is the last independent verification of the family dynamic.
Right. Giovanna comes over around the afternoon. The scene she describes is almost aggressively mundane, which makes it haunting in retrospect.
How so?
Susan is working on a yarn project, a blanket for the boys, and the yarn is tangled. So she calls Giovanna to help untangle it. It's such a cozy domestic image,
Yeah, totally normal. But then you have Josh. What is he doing?
He's cooking. He decides to make dinner for the family, pancakes and eggs.
Breakfast for dinner. It sounds nice.
It sounds nice until he opens his mouth. Giovanna is there helping Susan, and Josh looks at the neighbor and says, well, she could stay for lunch, but we just have enough for her.
Wait, say that again? We just have enough for her.
She could stay for lunch, but we just have enough for her. He's referring to Giovanna. She's essentially saying, you can eat, but we aren't feeding you. In his own home.
That is such a bizarre, petty power move. It's not just rude. It's territorial.
Exactly. It's him asserting control over the food supply in his own home against a guest.
It signals social friction.
Yeah.
It signals a lack of hospitality that borders on, like, passive aggression.
Or just plain aggression. But Giovanna brushes it off. He stays until about 5 p.m. Susan mentions she has a headache, she's tired, she's going to lie down for a nap.
And that moment, Giovanna walking out the door at 5 p.m. on Sunday, December 6th, is the cliff edge.
That is the last time any human being on this earth, outside of that house, sees Susan Powell alive.
So the sun goes down, the blizzard conditions outside intensify. Sunday turns into Monday. And this is where the logic of the world breaks.
It really is.
Because Monday morning, December 7th, is not a quiet day. It's a work day. It's a school day.
It is the day the alarm bells start screaming, and it starts with the classic no call, no show. In missing persons cases, this is almost always the first domino to fall.
And it starts with the daycare.
Debbie Caldwell, the daycare provider, is waiting for Charlie and Brayden. It's 8 a.m. They aren't there.
And Susan isn't the type to just forget daycare. From everything we've read, she's meticulous.
Oh, she is type A. She is organized. So Debbie calls Josh. Voicemail. She calls Susan. Voicemail.
And at the same time, Susan is supposed to be at Wells Fargo. Josh is supposed to be at his job, Aspen Logistics.
Neither of them show up. So now you have an entire family unit, mother, father, 2 toddlers, just vanished.
The panic spreads incredibly fast, which really speaks to how reliable Susan was. Her family knows immediately that something is wrong.
Yeah, Josh's sister, Jennifer Graves, gets the call. Josh's mother gets the call. And their minds don't go to murder initially. What did they think?
They think carbon monoxide.
Exactly. It's winter. The furnace is running. They are terrified. The family is dead in their beds from a gas leak. It's a legitimate, terrifying fear.
So the police are called for a welfare check.
And this is where the glass alibi begins to form even before we see Josh. The police arrive at the house. They knock. Silence. They fear the worst.
They break a window to gain entry.
They step through the broken glass, fully expecting to find bodies. But the house is empty. No Josh. No Susan. No boys.
But, and here is the detail that every detective keyed in on immediately, they find the living room strangely staged.
Can you describe the scene?
Well, there is a wet spot on the carpet, not a little spill, a clean spot. And pointing directly at that wet spot are 2 box fans, turned on high, blowing air to dry it.
Let's pause and really analyze the physics and the psychology of this. You walk into a missing family's house. The heat is effectively off or low. It's freezing outside, but fans are running.
If we connect this to crime scene reconstruction, this is what we call remediation. You're trying to clean up to erase something.
Right. Normal household maintenance, spilling a glass of water, cleaning up some juice, doesn't usually involve setting up an industrial drying station and then immediately fleeing the house with the entire family.
No way. If you spill juice, you throw a towel on it. Maybe you blot it. You don't set up fans and leave for the day.
You only set up fans if you need that spot dry now, if you need to accelerate the evaporation of water and cleaning agents before anyone sees it.
So it screams that something happened there.
Something biological, likely blood, that needed to be erased quickly.
And there was something else in the house. Something that Susan would never, ever leave behind.
Her purse, her wallet, her keys, her identification.
The unholy trinity of evidence in a disappearance.
Exactly. In 2009, or any year really, you do not leave your home with 2 children without your wallet and ID. You just don't. It is the universal sign of I did not leave voluntarily.
If she had run away, she would have taken money.
She'd take her purse.
If she'd gone to the store, she would have taken her keys. The fact that her purse was sitting there told the police instantly that she did not walk out that door.
She was carried.
So the police are standing in this empty house. Fans blowing, purse on the counter, broken window. They know this is bad.
Detective Ellis Maxwell is the lead investigator. He puts out an attempt to locate on the family's minivan, and they wait.
It's a tense wait. The sun starts to go down, it's getting colder, and then around 5 p.m. on Monday, almost exactly 24 hours after Giovanna left, the blue minivan rolls up the driveway.
And the curtain rises on the performance.
Josh is driving. The boys are in the back. Susan is not there.
Detective Maxwell intercepts him in the driveway, and this initial interaction is so critical. Put yourself in Josh's shoes, or the shoes of an innocent man. You come home. There is a broken window. There are police cars everywhere. Your family has been calling you all day. What is the first thing you scream?
Where's Susan? Or, is everyone okay? What happened? You'd be frantic.
Right. You panic. Josh. The transcripts describe his demeanor as odd, detached and lacking emotion. He doesn't ask, "Where's my wife?" He doesn't ask, "Is everyone safe?" He just looks at the detective.
And then he drops the story, the alibi.
Right there in the freezing driveway.
He tells Detective Maxwell, "Oh, I took the boys camping."
Camping.
Camping in a minivan in December in Utah during a blizzard.
Let's break down the absurdity of this premise, because this is why we call it the glass alibi. It wasn't just a weak lie, it was a physical impossibility.
We checked the weather reports for that night.
And we are talking about blizzard conditions in the West Desert. Temperatures were in the teens, wind chill was below zero. It was dangerous weather.
And he claims he left at what time? To go camping.
He claims he loaded up a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old at 12:30 a.m., technically Monday morning, to drive into the pitch-black desert to roast marshmallows.
Did he actually say roast marshmallows?
He did. He claimed they made s'mores. But here's the detail that makes the lie just. It shatters. Later, when police inventoried the van, they found some camping gear, a generator, some blankets. Do you know what they didn't find?
Let me guess. Marshmallows.
No marshmallows, no crackers, no chocolate, and more importantly, no wood.
He went camping to roast marshmallows without marshmallows or wood.
Correct. It makes no sense.
But he did have a generator and a gas can.
Yes. And why do you need a generator for a campfire? You don't. You need a generator if you were running power tools in the middle of nowhere. Or lights. It wasn't a camping trip inventory. It was a disposal inventory.
From the timing. Leaving at 12:30 a.m. It's insane.
It makes no sense. He claims he got his days mixed up. He told Maxwell, "I thought it was Sunday, not Monday. I thought I didn't have to work."
But even if it was Sunday,
Yeah.
who takes toddlers camping at 1 a.m. in a blizzard?
Nobody. It defies all parental instincts. And the biggest hole in the story, he claims Susan was fine with it. He says, "She was tired, so I left her sleeping and took the boys so she could rest."
You don't take the kids into a potentially lethal snowstorm in the middle of the night just to let your wife nap. You put them in bed.
Precisely. The logic gap is the size of the Grand Canyon. If you are an innocent husband, you don't do this. And if you do this, if you are just that eccentric, you certainly don't return 18 hours later acting like nothing is wrong when you haven't heard from your wife.
Detective Maxwell isn't buying this for a second. I mean, nobody would. He tells Josh to come down to the station. They need to talk.
And this leads us to the interrogation room. The Westside Substation interview. This happens immediately the night of December 7th.
We have the transcripts of this interview, and honestly, they should be taught in psychology classes as a study in evasion and narcissistic collapse.
They really should. Josh is sitting there, and Maxwell starts pressing him on the timeline.
And one of the first things Maxwell asks is the obvious one. Why didn't you answer your phone? Why did you ghost everyone all day?
And Josh drops the battery excuse, but listen to the specific phrasing he uses. He says, "It just tries harder and it dies, you know."
It tries harder and it dies. What does that even mean?
He's trying to use technical jargon to sound smart. He's claiming that because he was in a dead zone, the phone was searching for a signal, so it worked harder and drained the battery.
Which, to be fair, is a real thing that happens to phone batteries. It does drain them faster.
It is. But then he contradicts himself immediately. He tells Maxwell he turned the phone off to save the battery.
So which is it? Did it die from searching or did he turn it off?
Exactly. You can't have it both ways. And then Maxwell asks, "Okay, so you turned it back on to drive home. Why didn't you charge it in the car?"
He's in a minivan. He's driving for hours. Of course there's a charger.
Josh claims he didn't have a charger. In 2009, a tech-savvy guy like Josh driving a modern minivan without a car charger, it's another shard of glass, it's a transparent lie.
It's so thin. And then Maxwell pivots to the geography. He asks, where did you go? Now, if I went camping last night, I can tell you exactly where I went. I went to Campground A, Spot 4.
Josh says the Pony Express Trail.
Which is vast. It's not a location.
It's thousands of acres. It's like saying, "I went to the ocean." Maxwell pushes him. "Where did you stop?" And Josh says, "Pretty much." Well, no, that's it. He can't name a landmark. He can't name a turnoff. He can't name a campsite.
Because he wasn't looking for a campsite. He was looking for a hole.
Or a mine shaft. Or a ravine. He wasn't paying attention to the scenery. He was paying attention to isolation.
Then Maxwell asks about Susan. What was she wearing when you left her? And this is a test. If you just saw your wife a few hours ago, you remember? Blue pajamas, a white robe, something.
Josh pauses, a long, uncomfortable pause, and then he says, "She was just wearing something comfortable."
Something comfortable. That is the most non-answer answer I have ever heard.
It's a filler phrase. It's constructed to avoid being caught in a specific lie. If he says blue pajamas and she's found in jeans, he's caught. So he stays vague. He's trying to be clever.
And then Maxwell brings up the fans, the wet spot, the rug doctor. Because Josh didn't just have fans, he admitted to cleaning the rug.
Right. Maxwell asks, why were fans blowing on the carpet? Josh admits, I was cleaning the couch. He claims he was cleaning it to prevent mildew.
On a Sunday night.
Yeah.
Right before a midnight camping trip in a blizzard.
The timing is incredible. He claims he washed the couch and set up fans to dry it. Again, he is offering a mundane domestic explanation for a major forensic anomaly, but he's expecting the police to just nod and say, oh, okay, you're a clean guy.
But Maxwell isn't nodding. He's setting a trap. This is the moment, the gotcha moment, that makes you want to scream at the dashboard. Maxwell asks to search the van.
And Josh, in his arrogance, says, I guess so.
I guess so.
He thinks he has sanitized the vehicle. He thinks he's smarter than them. So the detectives go out to the van. Josh is standing there with them. They open the doors. They check the back. And then they open the center console.
And what do they find?
Hidden beneath a removable tray, so not just sitting out, but concealed, is a pink Motorola cell phone.
Susan's phone.
The phone Josh just told Maxwell he didn't know the location of. He had claimed he had no idea where her phone was, and here it is, hidden in his car, the car he just drove back from the desert.
This is the smoking gun. This is the physical evidence that proves he is lying about the timeline and her whereabouts. How does he react?
The transcript describes it perfectly. Deer in the headlights. He freezes, he stammers. The glass alibi has just shattered into a million pieces. He can't talk his way out of this.
What he tries. Of course he tries.
He tries. He says, I borrowed her phone yesterday because I needed cell phone numbers, and I must have put it in my pocket and forgot.
I needed numbers. He has his own phone. It's the most desperate, flailing excuse imaginable. I borrowed it and forgot it.
It's pathetic.
So here's the question that I know every listener is shouting right now. Why wasn't he arrested right then and there? He has the victim's phone. He lied about it. His wife is missing. He has a wet spot on the rug. He has a ludicrous alibi. Why did they let him leave?
This is where we have to explain the frustration of the American legal system. Detective Maxwell explains this in the Cold podcast. They had suspicion. They had probable cause to search. But they did not have corpus delicti. They didn't have the body of the crime.
They didn't have Susan?
Correct. Without a body and without a confession, it is incredibly difficult to charge murder, especially between spouses. A defense attorney would have torn them apart in 2009.
They'd argue he just forgot the phone.
Exactly, they would argue. So he had her phone. He forgot it. That's eccentric, not illegal. So he cleaned a couch, maybe the kid spilled juice. They pick it apart.
And if they arrested him that night, they had 72 hours to charge him or release him.
And if they charged him with murder and lost because they couldn't find the body, double jeopardy attaches. He could never be tried again for that crime. They had one shot at the king, and they couldn't miss.
So they made the tactical decision to let him go, hoping he would lead him to the body or slip up further.
Which is a decision that, in hindsight, is just devastating.
So they handed him the keys to the minivan, and he drove away with Charlie and Braden.
That image, watching that van drive away that night, knowing what we know now about what happens to those boys, it is just gut-wrenching. It is a failure of the system to protect the vulnerable because of procedural constraints.
But the investigation didn't stop. It actually shifted into high gear. 2 days later, December 9th, they execute a full search warrant on the house. And what they find removes any doubt that this was a violent event.
They go back to that wet spot, they pull up the carpet, they use forensic lights, and they find traces of Susan's blood on the floor right near that fan.
It was her blood.
DNA testing confirmed it. It was Susan's blood.
So now we have blood. We have the cleanup attempt. We have the phone.
And we have the motive, financial. Life insurance policies totaling $1.5 million on Susan's life.
Wow.
And almost immediately, within days, Josh starts trying to liquidate her retirement accounts. He withdraws the kids from daycare permanently. He is erasing her from the books.
And there was something else found in the house. A voice from the past. A handwritten letter from Susan.
This is one of the most chilling pieces of evidence in any case I've ever studied. Susan had written a secret letter, essentially a will, and hidden it. It said, quote, "If I die, it may not be an accident, even if it looks like one."
She knew.
She was living in terror. She knew exactly what he was capable of. She was documenting the danger for the future, praying someone would find it.
But the most damning evidence didn't come from the house or the accounts or even the letter. It came from the back seat of that minivan. The children.
The truth from the innocent. This is the part that is hardest to discuss, but we have to. The police interviewed Charlie, the 4-year-old. And children. Children observe everything. They don't have the filter to lie effectively.
Charlie confirms the camping trip. He says, "We went camping." But then he adds a detail that completely destroys Josh's story about leaving Susan at home sleeping. What does Charlie say?
Charlie says, "Mom went with you guys last night and she didn't come back."
She didn't come back.
A 4-year-old witness placing Susan in the vehicle on the trip to the desert. Josh claims she stayed home. Charlie says she went. And later, Charlie tells a teacher, flat out, "My mom is dead."
And Braden,
Yeah.
the 2-year-old, even at that age.
Braden was even more graphic in his own way. While at daycare later, he draws a picture of a van, and he tells the caregivers, "Mommy was in the trunk."
Oh my God, Mommy was in the trunk.
When you combine that statement with the blood on the floor, the fans, the phone, the camping trip in a blizzard, the picture is complete. The glass alibi was just a distraction. The reality, it was a brutal domestic homicide and a disposal trip under the guise of camping.
But Josh wasn't working alone, or at least he wasn't operating in a vacuum. We have to whiten the lens here. We have to talk about the family he came from.
Yes.
Because the more you peel back the layers of the Powell family, the darker it gets. It's like stepping into a gothic horror novel.
It is. We have to introduce Susan Powell, Josh's father. After the disappearance, Josh moves back to Washington State to live with him. And Susan Powell, he is a case study in obsession.
He wasn't just a supportive dad. He was obsessed with Susan, his own daughter-in-law.
Obsessed is putting it mildly. He was infatuated. He wrote songs about her, explicit songs. He filmed her without her consent, voyeurism.
He filmed her.
Yes. And he stole her underwear and kept it in plastic bags. He kept thousands of pages of journals fantasizing about a life with her. It's incredibly disturbing.
And he publicly claimed, and this is one of those theories the defense tried to float to the media, that Susan ran away with another man to Brazil.
Right. He claimed she ran away with a man named Stephen Kucher, another missing person. It was a complete fabrication. It was a fantasy he invented to explain why she was gone, but also to smear her character. It shows the level of delusion in that house.
So Josh grew up in a house where reality was whatever the father said it was.
Precisely. And then there's Michael Powell, Josh's brother. The police scrutinized him heavily.
What was his suspected role?
Michael seems to be the cleaner in this scenario, or at least the accomplice. The police theory is that Josh couldn't have done it all alone, specifically the final disposal of the body.
And there's the story about the car, the Ford Taurus.
Yes. Michael owned a 1997 Ford Taurus. Shortly after Susan disappears, Michael drives this car to a wrecking yard in Oregon and scraps it. He just gets rid of it.
And then this is the detail that feels like a spy novel. He buys a satellite image.
That's right. He purchases a high-resolution satellite image of the scrapyard. The police believe he wanted to verify that the car had been destroyed or crushed. He was checking his work from space.
He was making sure the evidence was gone. But why? What was in the car?
Years later, a cadaver dog indicated the scent of human decomposition in the trunk of that Ford Taurus. The DNA was inconclusive, likely due to time and degradation, but the dog knew.
So the working theory is that Michael helped move her body.
Yes, that Josh used the minivan to move Susan initially, maybe to a temporary site, and Michael helped move her later, or transported evidence using his car.
So you have Josh, the murderer, Stephen, the obsessed father, providing a safe harbor and a wall of silence, and Michael, the brother, helping to cover the tracks. It's a family conspiracy.
It creates a fortress. And for years, from 2009 to 2012, that fortress held up just enough to keep Josh out of prison. The police couldn't crack the inner circle because the inner circle was morally bankrupt.
But the fortress eventually crumbled. Not because of the murder, but because of the obsession. The system finally found a way in.
It started with the computers. Police seized Susan Powell's computers, and they found the voyeurism. They found images of neighbor girls' children that Stephen had filmed through windows.
This was the break.
This was the leverage. Susan Powell gets arrested for voyeurism and child pornography. This puts Josh in a very precarious position because he is living in a house that is now a designated crime scene for child exploitation.
And the state steps in. They take the boys.
They remove Charlie and Braden from Josh's custody. They place them with Susan's parents, Chuck and Judy Cox.
This must have been the breaking point for Josh. We know psychologically that narcissists cannot handle the loss of control.
It was the trigger. He is losing his children. He is losing his father's protection. He is losing the narrative. The court orders him to undergo a psychosexual evaluation to see if he is fit to regain custody.
And this evaluation, this is the final failure of the system.
Dr. James Manley conducts the evaluation. He identifies narcissistic traits in Josh. He notes that Josh is defensive, but, and here is the fatal flaw, he does not deem Josh an immediate physical threat to the children.
How? How can you look at this man, the prime suspect in his wife's murder, living with a pornographer father, and say he's not a threat?
It was a narrow clinical assessment that failed to account for the context of the homicide investigation. It was a catastrophic misjudgment. But that assessment led to the decision to allow supervised visitation.
And that decision leads us to February 5, 2012.
The day the story ends.
It's a Sunday. Again, a Sunday. A social worker brings Charlie and Brader to Josh's rental home in South Hill, Washington. It's supposed to be a routine supervised visit.
But Josh had been planning this. He had sent emails to his attorney and others just minutes before. It was an ambush.
The social worker pulls up. The boys run ahead. They're excited to see their dad. Josh opens the door. He lets the boys in.
And then he slams the door in the social worker's face. He locks the deadbolt.
She starts pounding on the door. She smells gas immediately.
She smells gasoline. Josh had staged gasoline cans throughout the house. He pours it out. And he has a hatchet.
A hatchet?
Yes. This is the detail that is often left out, but it speaks to the brutality. He didn't just burn the house. He attacked his own children first.
Oh, my God.
The autopsy revealed chopping injuries on the boys' necks. He tried to kill them with the hatchet before he lit the match.
The house explodes.
It erupts. The social worker is blown back. The neighbors feel the shockwave. By the time the fire department arrives, the house is an inferno.
It was murder-suicide. He killed Charlie. He killed Braden. And he killed himself.
It was his final act of control. If I can't have them, nobody can. He took the only leverage he had left, the children, and he destroyed them.
And the aftermath. Just keeps spiraling. Michael Powell commits suicide a year later, jumping from a parking garage in Minneapolis.
And the case is effectively closed by the West Valley City Police in 2013. They conclude Josh murdered Susan, likely with Michael's help. But
Susan's still out there. Her body has never been found.
There was that glimmer of hope recently, wasn't there, in 2022? The Diesel brothers, Dave Sparks, they got involved.
The bones lead. It looked promising for a moment. They went out to a mine shaft in the West Desert. Based on some new data analysis, they went down. They found a pair of pants, dress pants, that looked like they could be men's pants. And they found bones.
And for a week, everyone held their breath. Was this it? Was this Josh's pants? Was this Susan?
No.
The lab results came back. The bones were non-human, animal remains, just another dead end in the desert.
So what does this all mean? We've unpacked the alibi, the investigation, the family, the tragedy. When you look back at that glass alibi, the camping trip, the phone, the fans, it's maddening. It was so obviously a lie.
It was a lie constructed by a man who thought he was smarter than everyone else. He thought that if he just denied, and offered some alternative story, no matter how ridiculous, the burden of proof would protect him.
And the terrible truth is, in a strictly legal sense, it did.
It did. It protected him from a murder conviction. But it didn't protect him from the truth coming out.
It feels like the system was paralyzed by its own rules. They couldn't arrest him for the phone, so they had to let him keep the kids, until they couldn't, and then it was too late.
And that is the lesson here. The alibi shattered immediately. We knew he was guilty on Monday, December 7th, but knowing and proving are different things. And in that gap between knowing and proving, dangerous people can do terrible things.
I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. We talked about that cell phone, the pink Motorola in the center console. Josh said he didn't know where it was. Police found it. He stammered.
It was the smoking gun.
If that phone had been treated as enough, if the possession of the missing victim's phone, combined with the lies, had been enough for an obstruction charge or a theft charge, anything to hold him that night.
Charles and Braden might be alive today. Susan's parents might have raised those boys. It's a what if that haunts every detective who worked this case. It haunts me.
It haunts me, too. It's a reminder that sometimes the glass doesn't just cut the liar. It cuts everyone around him. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the darkness behind the alibi. We'll see you next time.